If you think hibiscus tea is just another slimming tea, today I want to show you that this flower may do much more for your body than most people realize. A lot of people know hibiscus as that bright red, slightly tart tea you see in health stores and online videos promising quick weight loss. But when we look more carefully, we see that hibiscus did not become popular by accident. It really does contain interesting compounds, and in some situations it may be a valuable ally for blood pressure, fluid retention, metabolism, digestion, and even heart health. The problem is that many people either exaggerate the promises or use it without understanding when it can help and when caution is needed. I am EDU Rodriguez, a pharmacist, biochemist, and health educator. And today I want to talk to you about hibiscus tea in a simple, direct, and responsible way. No miracle claims, no exaggeration, and none of that internet talk that promises to transform your health overnight. What I want to show you is what actually makes sense, how this tea may act in the body, and why it can be useful for many people over 40, especially when it becomes part of a more organized lifestyle. First, I need to make one thing very clear. Hibiscus is not a magic remedy. It does not replace medical treatment. It does not replace balanced eating. It does not replace physical activity. It does not replace good sleep. And it does not erase years of unhealthy habits. But that does not mean it is weak. It only means it needs to be placed in the right context. And when hibiscus is placed in the right context, it really can contribute. One of the areas where hibiscus tea gets the most attention is blood pressure. And this may be its best known benefit. Hibiscus contains antioxidant and anti-inflammatory compounds, especially anthocyanins and other polyphenol, that seem to support better blood vessel relaxation. In practical terms, that may help circulation flow more easily, and in some people it may contribute to a mild reduction in blood pressure. And that matters, because high blood pressure is one of the most common health issues after 40 and 50. Many people are living with hypertension without realizing it, and many others are treating it while ignoring supportive lifestyle habits that may help as well. So hibiscus can become an interesting complementary tool inside that bigger picture of care. But I need to reinforce this clearly. If you take blood pressure medication, this is not about replacing it with tea. Tea can complement. Medication changes belong to your doctor. Another reason hibiscus became so famous is weight control. And here I want to be very honest. Hibiscus does not create miracle weight loss. It does not melt fat by itself. It does not correct overeating, inactivity, or a poor diet. But it may help in a few ways that support the process. First, it has a mild diuretic effect. So for some people, it helps reduce fluid retention. That alone may create the feeling of being less bloated. Second, it seems to influence some enzymes related to fat metabolism and may modestly support a more favorable environment for weight control. Third, when people use hibiscus instead of sugary drinks, soft drinks, sweetened juices, or heavily sweetened teas, they are already making a very smart substitution. So I like to explain it like this. Hibiscus is not a standalone solution for fat loss, but inside a better routine, it can absolutely be an ally. And for someone dealing with excess weight, high blood pressure, fluid retention, slower metabolism, and a constant desire for sweet drinks, that swap can make a real difference. Another interesting benefit of hibiscus is its antioxidant action, and this becomes especially important after 40. Because over time, the body accumulates more oxidative stress, more silent inflammation, and more cellular wear and tear. That affects the skin, the joints, the blood vessels, the liver, the brain, and aging itself. The compounds in hibiscus help fight part of that internal aggression. That does not mean it stops aging, but it does mean it may support a more protective daily routine. And that matters a lot, because aging with less inflammation and less oxidative damage usually means aging with better quality of life. When we talk about the heart, hibiscus also deserves attention, and not only because of blood pressure. In addition to helping some people with pressure regulation, it also seems to have favorable effects on markers connected to cardiovascular risk, such as inflammation and, in some cases, certain blood fat patterns. It is not a treatment replacement. It is not a substitute for medication when medication is needed. But it is another piece that may add value inside a protective lifestyle. And what I always like to remind people is that the heart does not suffer from one thing alone. It suffers from the whole set of factors. It suffers from high blood pressure, excess sugar, abdominal fat, inactivity, stress, poor sleep, and chronic inflammation. So when a natural tool helps a little in one or two of these areas, that can be useful. The liver also enters this conversation. Many people today are living with fatty liver, and this is becoming increasingly common. A diet high in sugar, excess body fat, insulin resistance, and inactivity are behind many cases of fatty liver. Because of its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory action, hibiscus seems to have a liver-supportive role in some contexts. That does not mean it treats fatty liver by itself, but it may be part of a broader routine that helps the liver suffer less. Now I want to talk about something many people feel in everyday life: digestion. Hibiscus may help people who often feel bloated, heavy in the stomach, gassy, or uncomfortable after meals. That happens because it may support digestion and also help with fluid retention. For some people, this means feeling lighter during the day. At the same time, hibiscus may have a mild laxative effect in certain situations. And here is where an important detail comes in. That may be helpful for someone with sluggish bowel habits, but not so helpful for someone whose digestion is already too loose or too sensitive. So as always, listening to your own body matters. Natural does not mean identical for everyone. Another interesting point is its calming effect. Hibiscus does not contain caffeine, so many people can use it later in the day without disturbing sleep. And for some, it becomes part of a ritual of slowing down, easing tension, and stepping out of a more agitated state. I am not saying hibiscus is a treatment for anxiety, but it can absolutely be a gentler beverage choice inside a calmer evening routine. And that matters more than people think, because after 40 and 50, the body often suffers from chronic stress. Emotional overload, poor sleep, high glucose, inflammation, they all tend to walk together. So when someone replaces a worse habit with a lighter, less inflammatory, more interesting drink, that already helps the body in several ways at once. Now I need to talk about precautions, because many people only show the pretty side and forget that even tea requires judgment. Hibiscus can lower blood pressure. So if someone already has low blood pressure, frequent dizziness, or is using antihypertensive medication, they need to pay attention and speak with their doctor. It may also interact with certain medications, including some that affect blood pressure, clotting, and glucose. Another important issue is excess. Some people think that if 1 cup helps, 10 cups must help 10 times more. That is not how this works. In excess, anything can become a problem. Hibiscus is acidic, and that may irritate the stomach in some people and, with very frequent use, may also affect tooth enamel. So moderation matters. This is not about turning tea into a daily obsession without limits. Pregnant women also need caution, and people with liver disease, many medications, or more fragile health status also deserve individual evaluation. This matters a lot. A tea may be excellent for one person and not a good choice for another. When it comes to preparation, I always prefer a simple approach done well. A proper infusion, using good quality dried hibiscus, hot water, the right steeping time, and that is enough. No loading it with sugar, no turning it into a dessert in a cup. Otherwise, you take an interesting drink and destroy part of the benefit right there. And there is one combination many people like that really does make sense: hibiscus with cinnamon. Cinnamon can soften some of hibiscus's sharper tartness and also adds compounds that may support metabolism and insulin sensitivity. It is not a magical pair, but it is a smart combination, especially for people who want to use tea as part of a routine for weight control, glucose balance, and cardiovascular health. I like this idea of simple combinations because they respect how the body works. Hibiscus may help with fluid retention, pressure, inflammation, and digestive lightness. Cinnamon may add some support for metabolic response and flavor. Together, they create a more functional and easier habit to maintain. But I want to finish by reinforcing something essential. No tea changes your life if the overall context stays the same. Hibiscus may help, but it does not rescue a routine built on sugar, ultra-processed food, inactivity, poor sleep, and endless stress. Health improves when the whole picture improves. Tea enters as a tool, not as the main hero. So if you want to use hibiscus intelligently, think this way. It can be a better replacement for worse drinks. It may help support fluid balance. It may be useful for people trying to reduce sugar in daily life. It may support heart health, and it may improve your self-care ritual. But it needs to come together with better food, better sleep, less sugar, more movement, and more consistency. At the end of the day, hibiscus tea is not an empty trend. It contains interesting compounds, and it may indeed offer real benefits. But the true benefit appears when you stop thinking magically and start using it responsibly. If this content made sense to you, subscribe to EDU Health Tips. And tell me in the comments, have you ever tried hibiscus tea and noticed any difference in bloating, blood pressure, digestion, or energy?